हेलो फ्रेंड्स। आज बात करते हैं अबाउट द हिंडनबर्ग thing which has come over the weekend, right? So my hatred for Hindenburg is well known. I have tweeted against them all this while. Uh, so yesterday when they posted on X about something big soon in India, it was my Twitter feed was full of it. And then yesterday night they have released a new report again related to our market, but this time it's against Adani itself. And this time they have also not spared the regulatory Sebi as well. So there are allegations against the Sebi chairman, Madhabi Puri, and also IIFL is being called out in this new report. So in a bit we'll cover what the new report is and what are the implications. But before that, let's understand what is this about, what is the context. So let's look at the history, and then we'll proceed to the new report. Rather, where we stood before yesterday's new report from Hindenburg. So, what has happened so far? Now, it started with Hindenburg raising an allegation that Gautam Ambani led conglomerate of brazen stock manipulation and accounting fraud scheme over the course of decades. Right. So as a result, Adani, who was the richest Indian, slipped down to the 22nd spot in the Forbes billionaire list as a result of the market cap getting eroded. And the impact on Adani Group of company shares was that all of them nosedived, and almost 50% of their market value was wiped out, totaling more than 100 billion since the report was published. And the company's response was they did not respond point by point to the allegations raised by Hindenburg. They gave a generic response that they are rejecting this and they are not doing anything wrong. And they underlined the impact of on investors and the India growth story if due to such baseless allegations. And as a result, the Adani Group also decided to call off the 20,000 crore FPO of Adani Enterprises, and they announced a refund to the investors. Now, the key findings in the report were the Hindenburg Research report highlighted substantial debt in key listed companies of Adani Group, putting the entire group on a precarious financial footing. And the report's timing was coincidentally exactly before the 20,000 crore FPO, uh, which was sort of Adani's flagship kind of an offering, was about to hit the market. Right? And as I mentioned, Adani chose to do a nationalistic narrative, right? And the $100 billion were wiped out. And there were also regulatory bodies which stepped in. So the S&P Dow Jones Index announced the removal of Adani Enterprises, limited from widely used indexes. Bank exposure, RBI sought details from bank about the exposure to Adani. Sebi did not announce any probe into the crash of Adani shares. Now, going a bit deep into the response itself, so the Adani Group stated that the criticism was not just an attack on a specific company in India, but also on the entire nation and its growth story. So Hindenburg, yeah, they did not see any of their points getting addressed. So, and then the opposition started jumping in, and they asked for JPC, monitored by CJI. Government's response was Nirmala Sitharaman, ma'am, assured that both LIC and SBI were not overexposed to Adani Group of shares, and the investors' confidence would endure in the market. So the Adani storm reached the parliament. The opposition did a lot of noise, but over the time that was quelled, and the stocks continue. The stocks, even till date, have not retained. Have not been able to scale those highs before this report was published. So that is the context that we are operating in. So SEBI did not show much enthusiasm in investigation. Even the Supreme Court called them out, saying, you guys are not acting fast enough. So in response, what SEBI did was SEBI issued a show cause notice to Hindenburg as to why they are making such baseless allegations and what evidence do they have. And in reply to the show cause notice, they have sent a very nice report which puts Sebi in soup. So now let's go ahead and discuss what is in the latest report. So this is the context or the history so far. So what is it that Hindenburg report, which came out on the weekend, what is in it? So let's try to understand how. From my understanding, there are a few top points that they talk about. Right. First one is it has been 18 months since they filed the first report, right? And SEBI, for all the atyachar they do with retailers, have not shown the same enthusiasm to investigate the allegations that Hindenburg had raised, which is something true. We have seen it. Even Supreme Court made a remark to that effect, right? So, as per Hindenburg, one of the directors in Adani established a fund, an offshore fund in Mauritius through IIFL. Here is where now IIFL comes into the picture, right? And IIFL is already connected with another scandal, wire scandal. So they also say that Gautam Adani's brother allegedly siphoned money from Adani Group and used it to invest in the Indian market. And the second thing that they have raised right now is the current chairperson of SEBI and her husband had stakes in both offshore funds that was used in the allegations that they had made about the two offshore funds, which apparently was about siphoning money, right? And if the SEBI really wished to identify the offshore fund holders, the SEBI chairperson could have started by looking in the mirror. That's what the report says. Right? So Hindenburg uh, is not surprised that SEBI was reluctant, because if they followed that path, then all roads lead to Rome. So, and the report also raised allegations that from April 2017 to March 22, while Madam Book was a whole-time member and chairperson, she had 100% interest in an offshore company called Agora Partners. Right? It was only on March 16, 2022, 2 weeks after her appointment as the chairman, she quietly transferred the shares to her husband. That's interesting. In 2019, Madam's husband was appointed as a senior executive in Blackstone, while she was whole-time director of SEBI. That also smells something, right? So that's clear conflict of interest there. And Hindenburg talks about his LinkedIn profile that he has never worked for a fund in the real estate capital markets. or in capital markets. And such person was appointed as a senior executive in Blackstone, is what Hindenburg says. Now, why Blackstone is important? Because India recently created a new asset class called REITs, right? Real estate. And one of the biggest stakeholder and investor in the RE rights is Blackstone. Right? And then there were a couple of IPOs which came out during this time. So they're alleging that there is a favor done, or it's kind of there is a conflict of interest in this. Right? And there is a lot of changes, regulations have been changed by Sebi while Madam's husband was serving as a senior executive in Blackstone. Right? So they've given a lot of examples about, there are 12 items in that. Let's I don't want to get in the details of that. And it's not a secret that ma'am has been recommending REITs as a favorite, has her favorite products for the future, and encouraging poor retail investors to see the asset class positively at industry conferences. While making those statements, she omitted to mention that Blackstone, who her husband is a senior executive, stands to gain significantly from the REITs. So, this is another allegation that is raised by our Hindenburg. So, and to make matters worse, the Hindenburg folks are telling that Madam owns 99% of the Agora we talked about earlier. And in 2022, they earned a report revenue of $261,000. That is four times her salary at Sebi. So now where do we go from here, right? So if you remember where was the last year's allegation, where did it end? It was it ended the current state of that is Sebi took an enforcement action and served Hindenburg a show cause notice. So that's where it ended. And instead of giving a reply to the show cause notice, probably this is their reply, they have hit where it hurts. Right? So surface level look of it, it looks like there is a conflict of interest at best. Right? So I still don't believe in the big theories that these folks tell. But as far as ma'am and Blackstone position of her husband are concerned, it is, at least it comes across to me, and it's my personal opinion, that there seems to be a conflict of interest. And I think what ma'am should do is to clarify this position and also explain why she failed to reveal a conflict of interest when she was apparently promoting REITs. So this is where we have. Now, what could be the impact? I don't think anything changes with respect to Adani. Anyway, Adani stocks have not recovered from the hit that they got that day. And also, I don't think there's going to be a big change. But the overall market might be a little bit nervous. So, a SEBI chairman having a conflict of interest might spook some folks. So, there could be some reaction that we might see. But I don't think that this should impact the market in any way in tomorrow's opening. And I'm sure ma'am will come up with an explanation from the time I'm recording this to end of day. So let's see how it goes. It's an interesting thing to keep an eye on because this is serious allegations that are raised against the highest regulatory body of stocks in India, or regulatory body of finance in India. So that is where it stands. I hope this gives you a better picture of what's going on and a deeper understanding. So let's see if the market reacts to it. As per me, it should not. But let's see how it goes. So thank you for joining and have a great Sunday. Bye bye.